not something like the Leona, to be honest.
The thing is, this doesn't show... Well, that's the thing. Neither of those picks shows your hand that much. They decide to go towards that Skarner. Breathe, in fairness, is a fantastic Skarner player.
True.
I think in his very first series with Weibo, he went 0-5 because he was hard punished, and he still carried the game in late game because he's a really good team fighter on tanks. So maybe that changes things there. On the other side, the name of the game has been find magic damage somewhere in your team, and most of the time that's not mid lane right now. Ziggs would be a champion that would allow them to get that towards bot lane.
So very early lock-in of the Ziggs, and we've got the full-on demo squad coming in with the Tristana alongside it. But fast draft coming through as IG instantly answer with GLFS on that brand. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see a little old Corky locked in for Neny here.
Yeah, it's definitely a comfort pick for him in regards to that. IG, they'll be getting themselves a comfortable mid-jungle duo for themselves, almost certainly. IG's top side likely to be the full lock-in. Weibo, do you answer with something like that, Leona? Yes, you do. Means you combo up with that Ziggs very, very well. You take it away from Vampire as well and deny him some of his better engage options.
This is my kind of drafting. They're not messing about. They know what they want. They're locking it in. You know, slam the picks that you know you're going to go for. Often you see people really contemplating on the pick that we all know they're going to go for. They know they're going to go for. Obviously discussing the next stage of the pick and ban phase. Ezreal going to be banned. And we'll see what else is going to be taken off the board. Anything that can potentially either try and match Ziggs' clear or potentially all in the Ziggs as well.
So, bot lane, of course, fully locked in for Weibo as you're talking about. And you've talked about trying to all in bits and pieces there. I'm interested to see what Breathe is going to do. Presumably, it's just going to be that fourth pick, Cassante, but I was wondering whether IG were going to ban out some of the answers to that Skarner and just allow kind of like tank versus no tank in the top side, but they're not going to do that. Instead, just removing stuff from Tarzan instead. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to remove the Karthus as well, and that raises an issue, because what did we say about Weibo before this? They look better when Tarzan can also carry in that jungle role. He's not going to have the primary choices for that.
Nidalee would still be open and available if the Karthus ban does come through, and it does, which has been Tarzan's most picked jungler of the split. Now, you do have a bit of setup in that Leona, not necessarily the most setup in mid lane with the Tristana, but perhaps could get something up in the top side to set up for Nidalee as well. We'll see if that's something Tarzan wants to go for. Maybe go for, I mean, you realistically, it doesn't matter which lane you pick now, because both of the roles that you're picking have already been picked on the other side.
Well, Tarzan did go towards that Sejuani, which he was suggesting before. This is not the carry in the jungle, which is something which Weibo have used very powerfully before, but I think with the double demo squad, as you've been saying, it changes things a little bit. So it will be carry versus no one carry in the jungle as IG decide their bot lane.
It's definitely a Camille angle for Breathe. I'm just going to quickly throw that in there. Just let everyone know at home. As IG look towards that bottom lane. Jhin going to be locked in, which I feel sort of went a little bit out of fashion in the LPL. It was very, very popular for a couple of weeks there. We've not seen it as much in this final week of Fearless Draft. But I'm happy to go for that one set up, especially with a brand in the jungle. You've got plenty of damage to work with. And Vampire, naturally, going to be on the hard engage support. Not too surprised to see a Nautilus against that Leona.
Yeah, there's not a huge amount of team fight engage from IG. The Nautilus can obviously very much help with that as that last pick. Problem here is that you're doing the Nautilus into Leona. I feel like Leona does what Nautilus does right now, but better, because she's so tanky. Interested to see now how the tank front lines are going to interact. Skarner and Nautilus versus that Leona and that Sejuani. The Skarner can be countered by that Mordekaiser. It's something which we have picked up a lot within the LPL, and it is going to go towards it. Does give you melee synergy with the Sejuani, but it's kind of hard to play towards it, because Mordekaiser can struggle to stick the targets in the same way, but it is still something to play towards. Fairly bruiser-heavy composition from Weibo. I do think that Brand has a magnificent spot to carry this game from GLFS. That's so many high HP targets to start burning through. I don't think there's any one real breaking point within these drafts. You have frontline, you have long-range backline. I do think if Weibo get onto towers with the double demo squad, then the game breaks open. But IG, they can absolutely play through lanes and deny that too.
I think in that regard as well, topside will be really important early on in the game, because Grubs could make the difference here. With a Tristana and a Ziggs on a team, you really don't want to be giving them a host of Grubs to work with. This Mordekaiser for Breathe, I'm keeping my eye on. It's his first time playing it this split. Got about a 50-50 record over his career on the pick. We'll see how he does in this supposed counter matchup. It's a matchup that a lot of top laners have happily taken. We've seen it with varying results, but I just want to remind everyone at home as we head into the first game of this series. It's Weibo versus IG. They are exactly tied in the standings. They are tied in series score, they are tied in game score, and whoever wins this series moves into the upper group. Whoever loses goes down into that lower group. IG, a brand new rookie squad looking to make it into the upper half of the LPL, but Weibo are there standing in their way, consistently inconsistent as ever, and hoping to make it into the upper group regardless. Someone get that poor girl a throat lozenge. That is a hoarse-sounding voice, and I imagine is only going to get more hoarse as the day goes on.
That's the start of today, folks. It ain't getting any better from there.
Yeah, that's some passionate fans cheering on Weibo. They're 2-5 in the standings. People expected more. Vampire wants to set things up to start the game. Ever so slightly shy. W actually comes through, but no more follow-up. Neny doesn't want to take autos after the bomb is on his head.
On does start W for that, which means you don't have the bouncing grenade. Is it dancing grenade or bouncing grenade? Bouncing bomb for dancing grenade. I knew it. I knew I was conflating two. But you don't have the Q for your stronger level 1 from On. It would have been a great CC combo if they could land it, but Xiaohu stands firm. And because they showed in mid lane, it does mean that they will be a little late bot lane.
It's always annoyed me, Jin's ability names, because you've got the dancing grenade, great. Curtain call, great. But then you've got his W, the one that roots people, is called Deadly Flourish. And then his E, the one that does not root people, is called Captive Audience. How? Yeah. How is the root not Captive Audience?
I thought that they were changed in development. I thought that they used to be called that way and they switched them around. I seem to remember
also,
that. Anyway,
the trap is a flower. How is that not the flower flourish? You know, I don't know.
Like, look, such things are beyond my understanding. I wish I could tell you more, but that's just the genius of Jin. He's not meant to be understood by us mere mortals, you know?
True, yeah. It's an orchestra of abilities down there or something. I guess it's not really an orchestra because he's a solo violinist.
Well, the thing is, like, one of my favorite things about Jin is that when you play him, there's this faint music in the background when he speaks, and when you hear him as another character, he's got this really dry, raspy voice, which kind of gives that opinion, that atmosphere that it's all in his head. That's one of my favorite things about the champion. It's really cool.
Yeah, he's cool. He is cool. He's one of my favorites to play. Not that good at him, though, I will say. But then that's sort of true of most champions. I'm just not that good at the game myself. I really enjoy watching the game. I do a lot more watching than playing these days, to be honest. But anyway, let's talk win cons. Let's talk jungle pathing. As we've got Tarzan moving down to the bottom side. We've got GLFS playing up towards that top side here. It looks like we are just going to be trading those crabs to start off with. Xiaohu hits level 4 and gets a very nice trade. I love that Neny, he loses the trade. But I kind of respect that he literally just stood still and tanked that. I'm going to be stunned in the bottom side, and that's his cleanse going to be used as Tarzan keeps chasing for a root on Vampire, but a good hook gets him out to safety.
Tarzan does get some damage down, and this does mean that Arn and Vampire, you know, they started the W for that mid lane play. They didn't get themselves control over the bot side wave. Arguably because of that, you have less wave control without that dancing grenade at level 1, and it means that they are kind of on the back foot for when Tarzan comes down towards the bot side as well. Arn's still going to give himself a fine first back, but Light has the teleport. He's going to have an easier reset. He can stick around for another wave or two, and then he can come back into the lane. At his own leisure, really. He isn't forced to reset on the same timing as the traditional AD carries that don't go towards that teleport.
Another trade in the mid lane. Corki versus Tristana. This is what you expect, just consistently going back and forth as Neny sees an advantage, sees a window to get that trade, but won't be able to find too much more. And the fleet footwork on both sides does mean they can kind of stay in that lane, but Xiaohu finally gets his opportunity to recall. Very likely will grab himself that call.
Just realized we got a little bit interrupted on the win con condition. Win con condition. Yeah, win condition.
Like
Yeah! Yeah! Yeah, or the famous one from Halo was Mac Cannon. What, the Mass Accelerator Cannon? You're firing cannons out of a cannon. Incredible. Yeah, so when we talk about the win conditions for these teams, I do really think that IG have a good ranged pick combo. I think if you manage to get the Nautilus Jhin into brand damage, I think anyone on Weibo is going to die very, very quickly. And I think they have the range to pull that off. So look for that combo as we get later into the game. On the other side, though, combo from Leon is important.
Nice satchel charge from Light there. As Chris takes a big chunk, Arn is pushed away by the W from Light. Very, very nicely done to protect his support.
And that's important to note because if one of these bot lanes wins, I think the combo from either side gets much, much stronger. If the Jhin Nautilus get to roam out of lane, very powerful for them. If Chris gets to roam out of lane and combo up with a Light beyond level 6, that also gets very, very powerful. Tarzan might just be looking for a steal.
He's not going to go for it. Vampire checks the brush. Good stuff. And the 2018 IG flare comes out for Vampire as he looks for a hook on Light. And he finds it, the deadly flourish to follow it up. Light forced to flash away. And now Tarzan's alone. Xiaohu gets into the mix though. And that's a lot of damage. Bomb on Vampire's head. 2 for Xiaohu as IG sent packing at the Drake. A bomb lands. And that's a triple kill. Xiaohu's back.
Oh, and it's that silver bullet into IG in the early game. That combo, which could have been so powerful, is now going to be set behind, and Xiaohu on the Tristana gets to explode into the game. Goes back with 3 kills, gets himself a cull to keep on scaling as well. Weibo get that kind of like divine sign in this early game. And one of the big problems we talked about from IG, great at team fighting at most points, but they are really poor at knowing when not to fight. They're enveloped, they're going to be surrounded. Tarzan gets a 3-man W, which in the early game from the Sejuani is decent damage. Xiaohu gets to set up for multiple resets, and IG, this is not the fight which they would want in such an important series.
That's a phenomenal start from Weibo, isn't it? We've been asking for more from them all split long. And maybe this final game is where we see them step up. You know, they would just take it easy. It was all
it would be so
guys.
typical.
It was all part
so
of the plan.
typical. I cannot believe that they would do that again. Surely they wouldn't. But IG, you know, need to really track what they're doing now with the next fights which they go towards. Vampire in that last fight, again, really trigger happy to go in, but I think as a team to make that call to fight there was just the wrong decision when they didn't know where Xiaohu and Tarzan could impact that fight. I'm really afraid that if they keep doing that, this game is not going to be a particularly big contest. If they're making big engages onto the front line again, it's going to get that much harder for them. And another factor which will add into that too, is typically when we see the Mordekaiser into the Skarner, the enemy team from the Mordekaiser will try and gank the Mordekaiser so he doesn't get ahead of that lane. Because Breathe is even right now, he'll be getting easily onto his 1-2 item spike, and that's going to really be a problem later on. Mordekaiser, if he's set behind, isn't really that much of an issue. If he gets ahead of the Skarner, then imagine in the team fight, Skarner starts rolling forwards, gets ulted out. That's going to be a big problem. That could also happen to Vampire too. Breathe has been left alone in this lane, and he's very happy with that.
He certainly is. So Breathe gets his neutral lane that he's very happy with. Tarzan gets to contend the early objectives, although, to be fair, the objectives have all gone the way of IG, despite the fight after the Drake. But then Xiaohu, 1,000 gold up in the mid lane, and simultaneously, Light has built a 1,000 gold lead down in the bot lane as well. Got 3 assists on the previous play, got a 20 CS lead in this laning phase. But perhaps that will change as Vampire finds a hook onto him. Arn gets that full shot, looking for a deadly flourish, but the bomb goes out to Jhin instead. And Crisp doing his best to protect Light. Bomb goes, the stun comes out onto GLFS, and everybody dives on top. Crisp will fall, but it's 1-for-1, and Weibo have flipped it back on his head again.
It's really fun kind of back and forth of flipping between targets. They're trying to kill the carries after someone was caught out in the front line. Vampire finds a hook onto Light, but they can't finish the kill. And another kill going over to the Ziggs is a big issue. I do think that GLFS getting himself a kill on the Brand, that's helpful. He can very much burn through the front line and is an important part of IG's combo. But it's not even a winning trade because now you have Light there with first item completed on a really good timing. Weibo, very, very happy to play through the Ziggs-Leona combo later into the game too.
Honestly, Ziggs already having first item is not what you want as IG. And you fully expect Tarzan to be trying to move to that bottom side to help Light finish that tower if he can. But first, Grub's going to be spawning in a minute and a half, Drake up in a minute. I expect those objectives to be the priority.
If Weibo can get themselves any grubs, it really helps them because they have themselves the winning side lanes in a lot of ways. You have that Tristana with so much early gold, and you have that Mordekaiser who is very, very good at dealing with Skarner if you do get that neutral lane, as we called out earlier. So Weibo, they'd like to contest towards that. Need to see whether they'll get that ability to get that big combo off before that fight. I think they're getting to the point where they really can start to team fight. First item on Xiaohu, first item on Light, really puts them beyond the point in the game which we'd expect them to be at this timestamp. If they can get those grubs and trade it 3 for 3, even just get a couple for themselves, it's very, very impactful for them.
It feels dangerous, doesn't it, for IG? I feel like the next 2 or 3 minutes could decide a lot in this one, with Weibo already having a 3,000 gold lead. If they manage to snowball that, if they manage to keep building a lead over the next few minutes, it could get real dicey real quick for IG. Another plate goes the way of Light down in the bottom side, because Vampire roaming up to try and make a play with GLFS, but just going to be spotted on that ward, clears away that vision. As Breathe now on YSKM has that Death Realm available. YSKM chunked down to half HP. This becomes dangerous for the Skarner.
This is why you want to gank the Mordekaiser early. Make sure that Skarner can get a good first back, good first itemization, because Breathe will be very happy as this game goes on. Vampire's moving his way back towards bot side. Any play which happens now, reminder, you have the Solar Flare, Ziggs is very strong, someone is dying. If Griffith gets caught, that could be it.
There are 2 wards behind enemy lines for IG. There's one at Raptors, there's one at Krugs. 2 massive TP opportunities for Breathe if they need it, but it looks like Weibo might just get this uncontested. TP coming out from YSKM, and Breathe just going to join the mix in the middle of everyone. Weibo get the Drake.
Oh.
The hook is a little too soon from Vampire, and he's now going to be pulled in. Breathe doesn't commit the Death Realm, but keeps everyone away. Now Ping's going towards the top side as everyone moves towards Grubs.
Yeah, now that's going to be a really important Weibo. We said any grubs to them means an awful lot. No one manages to capitalize on the teleport from Breathe. Xiaohu!
Oh, nice stun from YSKM. Denies Xiaohu's jump and finds the pick that IG needed.
Instant wall slam, instant CC, and Xiaohu just positions poorly. Means that IG, they get themselves that kill which they wanted. Light is left alone on bot side, and with him going through the fast fuse passive, is going to shred the tower as he has been continuing to do so. Weibo, they won't get access to the grubs though, which we did say were important. IG get a miniature win there.
IG will be able to snowball these grubs, and honestly, I'd say it's more than a miniature win. That's going to be 6 grubs for IG. They don't necessarily have the best tower taking composition in the game, so the grubs, I'd argue, maybe even gain value there in the fact that you now can take towers. You now can actually damage these towers as a Skarner, as things like the Corki and the Jhin. Weibo trying to move through as a team, but Xiaohu gets slowed and just kind of gets caught.
He greeds. He greeds. You can't be positioning there. YSKM showed this against Ultra Prime as well in the last series. Very, very quick at him kind of pulling the flash Ixtal's impact into the Impale. Very, very strong CC combo, and it means that Xiaohu does get shut down, and that gold also goes over to the Brand. Huge carry on the other side, so yeah, IG, they get something back. There is still problems with how Light can just go around the map. There's still a minute to take plates. He can go into another lane potentially. If IG leave this mid lane unattended, Light will absolutely shred it, so they can't afford to let that one go.
Just want to quickly mention as well, Trinity Force picked up here by Neny. Only on the 1 assist, down in gold, but didn't go for the cull, so ever so slightly earlier there on finishing that Trinity Force. Wants to be a part of these plays as Crisp caught up by the Deadly Flourish, and Vampire follows up there. That's a flash forced out from the enemy support.
Crisp not in the best position either, so Weibo a couple of times now caught out in these river brushes either side of the lane and punished for it. It's not the biggest thing. Crisp will still have a decent amount of HP. That'll be that. Weibo still trying to get some plates here and there. Xiaohu just in range for this last one. We'll get something just before that comes through. It's a big gold advantage coming in from Weibo, primarily through that tower pushing, but also some of that early skirmishing as well, working out to a couple of kills in their favor. IG, they don't have great positioning on the map right now, and Tarzan does have flash and ult. He can very much pull the trigger.
That pink ward's not in the brush. The pink ward hasn't actually
hang on.
spotted the ward, so we'll
Vampire.
be seeing there. Vampire has overstepped. Does have flash available. I don't know if that's even going to get him out, but the curtain call comes through, and Crisp just gets abandoned by Tarzan, who wanted a kill of his own. 1 for 1, both supports down.
Yeah, you can see how dangerous the combo is on both sides. Vampire trying to get vision control, can't quite manage it. And as you said, the ward is not inside the brush. Weibo going to go over towards the Herald now. They don't have their big combo, and they are more reliant on it, I think, with that Ziggs ult. Maybe that'll put IG into a position where they really do want to fight.
GLFS, no flash, no ultimate, chunked out. It's going to be hard for him to move in and really contend this one. I think Herald is going to reset here as the Impale comes through. Breathe, put in kind of an awkward spot. Might just get burst out. There we go. Nice kill picked up by YSKM, using the Impale right at the end of the Death Realm.
I have no idea what Breathe thought he was doing there. Uses the Realm of Death really early onto the Skarner. It's not even used onto the Brand to try and deny him a smite or something like that. And Breathe doesn't have himself a great 1v1 in there. It doesn't get his passive up early enough. Means that IG, in the last minute or two, managed to get a couple of good picks, get themselves a Herald. That's a Herald with a 6 grubs buff behind it as well. So IG have a big power play to open up something like that mid lane soon after that point. So despite the fact that Weibo had themselves the 3 kills onto Xiaohu and looking like what could be another early game blowout game within the LPL, IG have managed to get themselves enough back.
Xiaohu and Light in a position to carry, but they need the other pieces of the team to start working with them a little bit here. Breathe. Goes for the ultimate, just stunned up the Impale, brings him into enemy territory. I mean, not entirely sure what Breathe expected.
So I think he ended up he thought he'd hit the E, the Death's Grasp, or Death's Hand rather. Yeah. And if he'd done that, he would have kept his passive up, and he would have maybe gotten to the point where YSKM would have died, or at least be chunked out during that. But then he ends up pressing the ult midway through the combo. The E misses, and he looks a little bit foolish after that point. So sad for him. We know that the Mordekaiser can be a powerful pick into the Skarner. It's not an instant win pick, though. You do still have to get your combos right and to get that passive ticking onto people. That's where so much of your damage comes from.
Sort of the classic Mordekaiser, isn't it? He's really, really good, but you gotta hit those abilities. Everything is a skill shot, so if you're missing those, suddenly not so potent. Herald gonna come down in the mid lane here, and you fully expect this to get the charge off. And with 4 players here from IG, they really want to try and finish this tower. YSKM actually going underneath the tower to try and follow up for more. Has to flash instead. Bombs galore on top of his head. Tower goes down. YSKM survives. The curtain call. Just going to look for a last little bit of damage onto Crisp.
Yeah, so IG, they use that power play to get that full mid lane turret. That's important. Lots of ultimates used, though, just before the dragon spawns. Breathe has teleport, has his ultimate back available. No grubs to help with taking this tower, though, which means that maybe that dies and he's collapsed on. As a Weibo, maybe just trade for the dragon.
So Weibo will definitely get the Drake here. What can Breathe get done up in this top side? Has his ultimate available, and in fact, everything's sort of missing. Okay, there we go. Half health. Neny pulled into the Death Realm. Dodges away from the pullback, though, and kind of just stays at range, auto-attacking. YSKM ready for Breathe to leave again. Neny under the tower. YSKM tanking, and Breathe walks away on a modicum of HP.
37 HP is what I saw there. Walks away. I thought he made a mistake by bringing Neny into the death row because he's the higher damage person. He might just be able to kill you during it. Lucky to get away with that one, but walks away with his life as Weibo walk away with the dragon on the other side of the map. Breathe doesn't get that top lane turret. We did say that not having those grubs means that your tower taking is a little bit slower, but all the same, IG lucky not to lose a kill on the other side of that.
They certainly are. That was a little too close for comfort. Neither team losing a player on that one. But 2 Drakes for Weibo. That's the important thing that went down during all of that. The one objective that was taken was that Drake. And now Breathe gets an opportunity to hit this tower once more. We'll finish off the job that started that sequence of play in the first place.
He returns to the scene of the crime. This might be dangerous for IG because now you have Breathe with a significant advantage in that lane. We saw how that went, and you know, Neny has a decent amount of damage, chooses to cross map here. They didn't want to fight towards the dragon. I think that's fine. That goes down during the cross map, and Breathe, yeah, I think there was a mistake made here. If you go onto the Skarner, he is closer to you, so the Death Realm allows you to go further back towards the tower. It gives you a bit more terrain to work with. And also the Corki has more damage at this point, so it's pretty risky of Breathe. So close, but Breathe comes away with that calculation. So 8 HP, not 35,
Bloody
8 HP, incredible!
About as close as you can get, realistically. Unlucky for Neny, but Breathe will be very happy with how that one's gone down. And this will be the 3rd tier 1 taken. So Weibo, they may not have any grubs, they may not have a Herald, but they have got 3 towers down. Crisp now looking for an opportunity potentially onto Neny as Tarzan instead just dives forward onto GLFS. That's going to be a flash burn. Neny forced to Valkyrie, and he has to flash as well. Tarzan rooted as Breathe goes into the death realm. This time he's got Vampire. That's a 1v1 that Breathe can win. Vampire actually dives back into the mix as Tarzan jumps over the wall. Crisp following up, Impale only onto one, and the bombs are getting so much AoE value. Weibo low on HP, but surviving as Crisp burns down, and Weibo still ahead in the trade. Curtain call goes through. Light has to tank it. It misses anyway.
What are IG doing fighting in those choke points? They almost get themselves the carry team fight from the brand. GLFS very nearly carrying that, but I'm so surprised that they chose to fight at all. This is one of the issues we keep having with Invictus Gaming. They really like to fight. Sometimes they need to decide not to. Weibo close to going down in some key points there, but they walk away with some buff steals. They walk away with the one fight overall, even with the initial combo not hitting. Maybe that's what kind of puts IG into a winning mindset. Okay, the Ziggs ult is down, the Sejuani ult is down, but you're going on to Breathe on one side. I really feel like that's just not the target. Vampire taken down to solo HP and hooks himself into death pretty much at the end of it. Maybe he could have tried to disengage. It's quite hard to tell when you can't see where the Death Realm's borders are, but he can't fight beyond that point, and very dangerous. He might just go down again now.
You see Xiaohu, I think, was trying to get behind him in the
Right,
bush so
yeah.
he could use the Buster Shot, but unfortunately couldn't quite get that vision in time, so instead Vampire will get out with his life. A pick there. Maybe could have set up for a Baron, honestly, for Weibo, but won't find it in the end. Still, 2 Drakes for them. They've still got a massive 6,000 gold lead right now, and in fact, they don't need the pick. They've got complete darkness on that side of the map.
Man.
And I mean, there's not even a Scooby on the side of IG. They have no way of... It's going to be gone before they even
It's going to be gone.
notice.
It's going to so quick. Light's not on the objective. How low's the HP? It's going down.
And there we go. Baron taken. Weibo make it look easy. Where has this Weibo been all split long? Wire scam now found. Weibo, this is clean as hell.
They take the Fog of War, they take the Baron. IG, they try and commit towards the Baron fight, but that means that they don't even get to use their 6 grubs on the side lane to get something else. We're getting to the point now where there are objective bounties available because Weibo is so far ahead of the game. Dragon's now up in 40 seconds. I'm fairly sure that Weibo can just reset and push in after they've taken a couple of towers. They're very happy to walk in with this Baron buff and the siege potential of this in holy fed Ziggs.
Yeah, this is a bit of a massacre, isn't it? As a tier 2 goes down in the top side as well. Drake spawning in 20 seconds. Weibo would love to get another one. Line doesn't have TP and is resetting, so perhaps a chance for IG. Tarzan's making a beeline, though. I'm not sure IG have much of an angle here to stick around and try and get this Drake, just because it might lead to a fight, and I'm not sure it's a fight that they would be able to win. Tarzan actually smites away the Skull Crab to maintain vision dominance.
Oh man, that's gotta feel bad for GLFS. It really does feel like Weibo have blown open this bot side. Arn, I think, has been IG's best player across the entirety of group stage, and that's also allowed Vampire to have a lot of weight off his shoulders. With Arn and Vampire failing in the laning stage a little earlier into the game, Light and Crisp were pulled ahead, and Arn and Vampire, a core part of IG, haven't been able to stand and fight. We've seen how Vampire has really struggled to engage, and they can't even defend their turrets. They do get to stop the local goal going over from that, at least, but that's a very, very much silver lining.
Yeah, that's we're clutching at straws here. So is GLFS, as he's just obliterated. That's a tier 2 in the mid lane and in the bottom lane. And guess what? Ziggs Tristana plus Baron minions equals dead tower. I'm not great at maths, but I know that one off by heart. Breathe in the meantime. Sieges in the mid lane as Tarzan will move over just to help him finish that job. And now these Yordles get their chance to move over towards this tower, get those passives off, get those bombs off, and finish off another objective. Bomb onto Vampire's head, and he just explodes into a million pieces. This feels just like game number 2 between NIP and Ultra Prime. This feels like a massacre.
It does, and it turns out there's another secret technique to kill a vampire. You explode them with a bomb. Don't even need the garlic and the steak. Absolutely evaporated. They're pulling the ults, but it feels too late.
The curtain call gonna do a whole load of diddly squat against Crisp there. A root lands onto Tarzan, but the stun can't follow up. The hook can't follow up. Tarzan gets out with his life. That's 2 inhibs. And finally, Weibo can move over to that Drake that we were talking about being set up about 2 minutes ago.
So Weibo, real curb stomp of a game. I think they hugely won through that bot side skirmish and the bot lane laning phase beyond that point. Light on the Ziggs has looked fantastic. There are going to be some questions as this is our last series of Fearless Draft. Weibo looking fantastic in this game. Can they do this again? They're called Weibo Tap Tap right now. Can they do that? Can they tap tap, double tap in this series if they do end up this first game? It's looking mighty inevitable, but can they do it without these picks again against IG in another game in this series, you know?
It seems poetic as well, because if they can't double tap, IG will rise from the dead and go into that upper group. We'll see if Weibo can finish the job. They've got to finish this game first, but honestly, with a 10,000 goal lead, it's feeling pretty easy to finish this one off, dare I say. I don't know, Weibo, I feel superstitious when I think about Weibo as a team. You know, they're one of those teams. Maybe not quite to the extent of like a KT over in the LCK, but they're headed in that direction. There's a lot of emotion involved when talking about Weibo.
They're kind of like our region's flavor of it. Every region's got one. Used to have CLG back in the day.
Yeah.
YSKM, he's been spotted on the flank as well. He can maybe get something, but it's so hard.
Light just flashes it away. Tarzan dives in. That's YSKM gone. Solar Flare even lands onto GLFS as well. He's chunked and will be finished off as Breathe. I thought pulled Vampire into the death realm there, but apparently not, as Vampire still surviving, but Tarzan goes down. It's a kill for IG. An absolute win in this situation. They only lose 5 players, and they manage to get a kill onto Tarzan. In reality, though, Weibo dominate. They finish the game, and they look strong as they start their final series of the first stage of the tournament.
That wasn't even close. IG, they were spectators. They were just watching the game fall away from them. They lose that bot side skirmish where they give 3 kills over to Xiaohu in the bot lane laning phase. Already struggling at that point, falls apart even longer. Even further, rather. It feels like, really, Weibo, they took those early game mistakes we've seen sometimes in the LPL and, once again, run it over to a victory. There were 1 or 2 good picks in the mid-game around those mid lane bushes, but they couldn't string together any series of good fights.
No, absolute massacre from Weibo. Great draft and well executed from them as well. Snowballing through Light down in the bottom lane. And with that, we're going to jump to a break already. I can't believe the first